Okay, welcome everybody to the Quail Forest Community Podcast, where neighbors meet neighbors. I'm your host, Mark Stein. This show is all about helping us get to know the wonderful people who live right here in Quail Forest and introducing trusted local organizations and resources, especially those that support our senior residents. Together, we're building a stronger, more connected community, one conversation at a time. Today, we'll learn more about transportation support services in Pinellas County with Ross Silvers. He's the ADA and Community Relations Officer with Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority. He works directly with seniors and people of all types of disabilities and incomes to address their transportation needs. Ross, thanks for coming on the podcast.
My pleasure, Mark. Happy to be here.
First of all, tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to your current role.
Sure, Mark. So I grew up in the suburbs of Miami, and kind of because I have a disability that limits my vision, I've not been able to drive. And so living in the suburbs, I learned to find any type of way I could get somewhere that was reasonably safe, from rides from friends and family and neighbors to hopping on my bicycle or to get on even a bus if need be, or getting a ride to an express bus that would take me somewhere, and taking the train and everything else. And so that kind of began what I call my mobility journey of finding kind of other ways to get around and do the things I wanted to do. Went to college in New Orleans and loved riding the streetcar there and the local bus service there. Spent 10 years in DC and enjoyed using the metro system there. And then came back to Florida about 20 years ago, settled here in St. Pete with a wife, 2 kids, 2 dogs, and a cat. And kind of purposely chose a place to live that had bus lines nearby. And I guess about 15 years ago, began working for PSTA, Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority. Take the bus every day to and from work. It's the easiest part of my day. They have Wi-Fi on there, so I get on and do all my web research of whatever I have to do around the house and for life while riding the bus, and use our other exciting services I'll be telling you about as well. So happy to be here and to share some information with you all.
Awesome. That's quite a story. Tell us a little bit of background about the organization.
Sure. So PSTA is our publicly funded public transit organization for Pinellas County. It's just had its 40th anniversary. Before that, there were 2 separate organizations, one based out of Clearwater, one based out of St. Pete. But essentially, this is your public tax dollars at work. And so just like any other service, it's here when you need it and when you want it. And so it's encouraged for folks to utilize the service when it's appropriate to do so. So I'm kind of here to give some guidance today on what those opportunities might be for you to give it a try.
Very good. Your funding, is it federal? Is it local? Combination?
Good question. So most of our vehicles are purchased through federal grants, and we do get some other grants for some other things. But the rest of our funding, we get some from the state. Most of our funding is coming from ad valorem property taxes. So as homeowners who are in your community look at their ad valorem property tax assessment every year, they will see an assessment for PSTA, and that's those dollars at work.
Right. It's nice to have a line item that we know about, and so glad to have you on to talk about it. All right, so let's talk about the services that you would provide up here. And we're in East Lake Woodlands, one of the first communities in East Lake Woodlands. I think we have an estimate of 90% of our residents are 55 and over. We're not technically a 55 and up community. I'm not sure we're on a bus line. Probably at Boot Ranch would be the closest. but just fill us in on what the options are for our residents with your program.
My pleasure, Mark. So one of the things about PSTA, we actually were a couple of years ago named Public Transit Agency of the Year in the country by the American Public Transit Association. And part of that is because we do a lot of innovative services. So not every service we have looks like a traditional bus. And so one example of that is the service we have that actually serves your area. So your community is completely served by a service called the East Lake Shuttle. So what the East Lake Shuttle is it is actually a door-to-door service that operates so anyone in your community can have a vehicle come to your home, to their home, pick them up and take them to one of two destinations. One you already named, and that's the Shops at Boot Ranch. And the other is Tarpon and Mall, which is kind of by Tarpon and Huey. The reason we take folks to those two places is that's where you can connect to other PSTA buses. Shops at Boot Ranch has the Route 78A, which I'll tell you about in a minute. And then Tarpon Mall, Tarpon and Huey, has the Route 19 and a couple other routes that kind of serve more the western side of the county, as well as connections to get to buses to Pasco County. So the way the East Lake Shuttle works is that the cost is just $2.25 for a one-way trip. You call it 1 to 6 days ahead of time and schedule a time you want to be picked up. And a driver and vehicle have been screened by PSTA will come to your home at that time, pick you up and take you one of those two places. And if you need to take a bus ride from there, then you can do that, or just go shopping at the mall or whatever you want to do. Schedule a time for your return trip and come on back for another $2.25. So it's a really high level of service that obviously is very friendly for seniors as well.
So let's say we're going to Boot Ranch. We reserve it 1 to 6 days or 5 days ahead. And do we need to reserve the return trip prior, or can we say, okay, can I, to the driver, can you pick me up in an hour and a half?
Yeah, you do want to reserve the return trip in advance because the drivers are going to go off and do other things. So when you call in to schedule the trip to Boot Ranch, you would also schedule the return time. And if you need to make a little adjustment to the time, usually they can do that with you. But usually, if you can try to schedule both at the same time, that's the best thing. The service does operate Monday through Saturday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. are the operating hours, but we're here to take your calls 7 days a week.
Okay. The $2.25 each way is very reasonable. But are there, let's say someone is really hurting financially, are there ways to waive that fee?
On this service, there is not. On this service, it's $2.25 for everyone, regardless of income. So it's kind of just a special service at that cost. So unfortunately, that just applies to everyone across the board.
Okay. So this is not door to door to a doctor's visit. At Boot Ranch, they've got grocery stores, they've got CVS, and so a lot of the shopping or going out to lunch with a friend. And I guess for those that need a doctor's office, if it's on the way, they could get that far to Boot Ranch, and then take an Uber from there. It would cut the price somewhat for them than coming door to door. I don't know how much, but some.
Sure. And the same is true for it also goes to Tarpon Mall. So if they have to get over on that side of town by 19, then that does it as well. And again, of course, they can connect to a regular bus service. The Route 19 is probably our most popular route. It goes from Tarpon Mall all the way down US 19 to St. Pete. And then on the other side from Boot Ranch is the Route 78A, and it's a pretty cool route. It runs 7 days a week, as does the 19, and it actually goes in one direction. You can go to Countryside Mall, Dunedin, downtown Dunedin, and then on to downtown Clearwater. And of course, you can catch a connection from there over to the beach. The other direction, the Route 78A from Shops at Boot Ranch, goes out into Tampa. It actually goes out past Tampa Downs and ends at the Heart bus system Northwest Transfer Center, just north of the airport. So actually, if you kind of wanted to save some money on an Uber ride to the airport, you could catch the East Lake shuttle over to Shops at Boot Ranch, or even drive over to Shops at Boot Ranch and park, and then hop on the 78A. It would take you to within a really cheap Uber ride to the airport.
Nice. I'm glad you're expanding upon this. So, do you by chance, I'm putting you on the spot, do you by chance have a map? No, you're on your phone. I was going to say it probably is on the website, um, a map of those routes.
Yes,
Uh, and actually, let's see, cite them again, the routes, and trace them just verbally again, and we'll put them up in the video so that people can see it visually.
sure.
So will you outline those routes and where they go again?
Yes. So, of course, the East Lake Shuttle kind of covers your area between Shops at Boot Ranch and Tarpon Mall. And then it connects at Shops at Boot Ranch to the Route 78A. Route 78A heading west goes through downtown Dunedin to downtown Clearwater, and heading east goes through Oldsmar out past Tampa Downs to the Northwest Tampa Center, Northwest Transfer Center for Heart, which is just north of the Tampa Airport. So those are the routes from Boot Ranch, and then the other side, Tarpon Mall, is the Route 19, is what serves there, going down US 19 all the way down into St. Pete, or catching buses into Pasco. And all those maps, system maps, so there's a system map as well as routes for each of those schedules with a map for each of those schedules are all located on our website. It's just www.psta.net. And then you'll click on the link for rider information. And under that, the first thing you'll see is schedules and maps. There's also a trip planner right there on the homepage in the front left corner. So you can plan your whole trip there. You also can use the Maps app on your phone, either Apple Maps or Google Maps, to plan your trip, just like you would for driving, except what you want to do is at the top of the screen, next to the image of the car, that's usually the default, you'll see a person walking. And next to that is an image of a bus or train. Just tap on that and it'll give you complete bus directions anywhere in the region.
Nice. So if someone was patient enough and has the time, and most seniors, what we have is time, so you could get to at least really close. Since I'm thinking doctors' offices are the main thing other than grocery shopping that people would need to do. Well, and to the pharmacy. So they could get pretty close. And if their doctor was on a main route, let's say 66 um, Street heading south towards St. Pete, a lot of doctors' offices there, or 19, they'd be able to get there or get really close, right?
Exactly. And we actually have a service that any senior who has any kind of limitation or disability can use that's called travel training. And travel training is where we have someone who will come out to your home, if you wish, and actually sit down with you and help you plan a trip that you would take using the East Lake Shuttle and buses. So they actually plan out the trip with you and show you, okay, let's take a look. You've never ridden the bus before. Let's make this easy for you. Plan it out and even take that trip with you and back, all for free. So kind of take the guesswork and the anxiety out of it for you and make it easy. So we have a lot of great services available. To use that service or to make a reservation for the East Lake Shuttle, the phone number to call is 727-540-1888. And then for using the East Lake Shuttle, you choose option number 2 from the menu. And to get the travel trainer, you choose option number 8 from the options at that menu.
Nice. That's really, really helpful because as we get older, our memories fade, our ability, just our trust in our in our faculties starts to wane a little bit. Um, Let me ask you this on price. So let's say let's say we wanted to go to that transfer station at the airport. Um, is the 225 that takes us to Boot Ranch, will that take us also to the airport?
Good question. So it will not. The 225 is just for the East Lake Shuttle part to the shops at Boot Ranch. When you get onto a bus, if you are a senior, which means over age 65 in our system, and have a Medicare card or another ID that shows your age, then you would be able to ride for half price. So 225 is the regular bus fare for a single ride. $1.10 is our half price fare for seniors, or it's $5 all day on the bus is the regular price, or it's $2.50 all day for a senior. And there's monthly fares, et cetera. And when you're on the bus, what's nice is you don't have to pay cash. You can if you want to, but you also can just tap a credit or debit card right as you walk on the bus. Tell the driver you're a senior, showing an ID, and it'll automatically charge for the correct fare. So it makes it pretty easy and pretty affordable. I did also want to mention another route that you can catch from Tarpon Mall is the Jolly Trolley Coastal Route. This is a lot of fun because it goes from downtown Tarpon Springs through downtown Dunedin and goes all the way down to downtown Clearwater. And it's used by a lot of folks to go out at night and have some fun because, you know, Mark, it's not just about going to the doctor and getting your prescriptions filled. You got to have a little fun too.
That's right. And I've seen that trolley. It goes down Alt 19.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah, so um, that has the makings of a field trip sound to me.
Let's do it.
That could be really fun. Um, so let's also ask this. Let's say that a senior has their relatives come into town, their grandchild. Um, can they accompany the senior on the shuttle? And then I know that they can go on the buses, but can someone accompany the senior?
Absolutely. So what our policy is that if someone is accompanying the senior as their helper, let's say someone has some mobility issues, maybe they're using a cane, and so they want someone, maybe a grandchild or whoever, to help them carry their groceries back from the grocery store at shops at Boot Ranch. That person would accompany them for free. So we call it a PCA or personal care assistant, and they ride at no charge on all of our services. If someone's going along as a guest, just someone to join you going out to lunch, they'd pay the same price, of course, but happy to ride together. So it's a wonderful service. I did also want to mention for those seniors or people of any age who have more significant limitations and disabilities where they can't walk too far or can't ride on a bus for a variety of reasons due to a disability, we do have a service called PSTA Access. PSTA Access is our form of what we call ADA, or Americans with Disabilities Act, paratransit service. And this is door-to-door service that operates throughout the county. Now, when I say throughout the county, it operates everywhere that regular bus service operates. So it doesn't technically operate in your area because you have the East Lake Shuttle. But what it means is you would end up taking a single seat ride from the same kind of vehicle that serves East Lake Shuttle, which is one of our contract companies. And they would take you anywhere in 98% of Pinellas County for a total of $6.75 each way. So if you did have that appointment on 66th Street for a doctor, this would be an awful lot cheaper than taking an Uber. So $6.75 each way once you're eligible for PSTA access. And you do need to apply and be found eligible for access. It all starts with a phone call to the same number I gave earlier, 727-540-1888. Just choose option 4 for eligibility, and then they'll send you out an application and go from there.
Okay. So if someone is has a wheelchair, then that could be a good option. And they first go to Boot Ranch, and then they would connect with this other service, ADA service, to take them elsewhere.
So on paper, that's true. In reality, they wouldn't have to go to Boot Ranch first. In reality, it would pick them up at their home. And whether they're in a
Okay.
wheelchair or not in a wheelchair, it serves both. So all types of disabilities, people who are blind, people who have very significant cognitive loss, things like that. So anyone who can't navigate or otherwise get to a bus system can become eligible for this service if they qualify. And so again, what it would look like is, again, setting a set reservation time ahead of time. They'd come to the home at that time to pick you up and would take you from the home. They may stop to drop off or pick up someone else along the way, but they're not going to stop at Boot Ranch. They're just going to go straight to wherever your destination is. So if it's a doctor on 66th Street, or if it's the beauty parlor that's over in Dunedin, that'll be where they take you. They'll actually walk you to the front door, main entrance of where you're going, to help you be safe and accessible.
And that's $6 each way.
$6.75.
$6.75. What about age ranges? Do they need to be 18? What's and if it's different, well, let's see. We already know that seniors getting on the bus from Boot Ranch, we've got that pricing, and we've got the full price. Are there any other limitations based on age?
Good question. So none of these services are specific for seniors, but of course, seniors are welcome to ride every service. So, excuse me, for children who are under the age of 9, they ride for free on any of our services. So presumably in the company of an adult. And then older children, if they're part of the Pinellas County public school system and have a school ID, would ride for free. And then most other adults are paying the same price. So the services I'm describing, the East Lake Shuttle, PSTA Access, are not age specific. The only age specific service that I'm aware of is operated by a nonprofit called Neighborly. And Neighborly does offer free medical rides within 10 miles of your home if you are a senior age 60 plus. And you can just go to neighborly.org for more information on that service.
We'll bring them on the podcast too, Neighborly. So, so a young person with a disability will be able to ride free the shuttle and the bus system once they're qualified under your guidelines. Is that right?
Yes, that's someone under age 9, correct.
Under age 9. And between, let's say, 18, 17, 18 with a disability. Remind me again.
Yeah, so someone who is in their teens is going to pay regular fare for riding PSTA Access. There's no discount there. But if they're on a PSTA bus and they're in a public school, then they would show their Pinellas County School ID and ride for free with an arrangement we have with Pinellas County School System.
Okay. So if they're a student in the public schools, does that also, let's say junior college, with a student ID, okay, they'll ride for free on the shuttle and the bus? No, they're getting
Yes,
picked up
they
by
would
the
ride
access.
for free. Good question. So a St. Pete College student would ride for free on the East Lake Shuttle and the bus, just like a Pinellas County school student would. Other groups that applies to are all veterans. All veterans ride for free on all of our buses and the East Lake Shuttle, as well as students who are at Eckerd College or at Pinellas Technical College.
Okay. You know, we really need a grid. I bet you have it on the website that has all these different categories of people and what the charges are. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. So you just again go to our website, www.psta.net, click on rider info, and you'll see fares, F-A-R-E-S, and that'll give you all the information you need.
Okay. What haven't we talked about that you do at the organization?
Good question, Mark. So the other thing that we do is we have some grants we're getting from the state. One of those grants is to provide cross-county trips. So these are trips that would start in Pinellas and end in Hillsborough or Pasco counties. So we do these trips for just $6 each way, Monday through Saturday, again from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And to qualify is two ways to qualify. One is based upon being lower income, below 200% of the poverty level, and those income limits are on our website. And then the second way to qualify is by having a disability, such as being access eligible. So, and then you're just riding $6 each way to Hillsborough or Pasco. So we're really excited about that service and people love it.
So you have started that service.
Yes, that service has been going for a few years now. And then we
Okay.
also have, for those who are eligible for PSTA access with their disability, we offer another service for them called Mobility on Demand. This is really popular. What it does is it, for the same $4.50 charge, it lets someone take their choice of an Uber, Lyft, taxi, or if need be, wheelchair transport ride anywhere in Pinellas County for just $4.50. And it operates Monday through Saturday from 7 to 7. So it's not a shared ride, so it's just nonstop from where you start to where you end in an ordinary Uber, Lyft, or taxi. So that's really popular. And again, to use that, you just need to first apply and become eligible for PSTA access based upon your disability.
Wow. This is incredible. I'm certainly glad that we've talked here, and my mind is spinning with all the applications for it and all the people that it can serve. And give us that number again that people would start with to, and then that the main number sounds like they could connect you with all the different possibilities for getting where you need to be.
Certainly. 727-540-1888 is the main number for all the services I've talked about. There is a separate number for just bus information only, and that's 727-540-1900. But 540-1888 is for all the other programs I've discussed.
And let's say someone wants to start from the website and connect with somebody in that department that would help them see what their options are. Do you know off the top of your head what that page would be within the website, what that link would be?
Yeah, it's really the rider information page. So again, it's just www.psta.net. And then there's tabs across the top of the page. And one of those tabs is for rider information. And that's really the one where they'll find everything from all the fares to all the on-demand services, we call them, to using the bus as well. One other on-demand service I'll tell you about, because it's kind of in your area, your section of the county, not right where you are, but we have these on-demand shuttles similar to the East Lake shuttle. So we have one that operates in the Safety Harbor area, and that's called Snapper Safety Harbor. And it basically operates between Countryside Mall and pretty much everywhere in Safety Harbor. And the other one is called Snapper Clearwater and operates in the North Clearwater area, top of the world, kind of that section. And that's called Clearwater Safety Harbor. I'm sorry, Clearwater Snapper. And one last service I'll mention is if you have people who are coming into town who are staying out on Clearwater Beach, we also even now have a shuttle service operates exclusively between Pye, St. Pete Clearwater Airport, and Clearwater Beach. And that is called the Grouper service.
Wow. That's incredible. The scope of services and different options. Let me ask you this because I'm a huge Tesla fan. Are there plans underway? We're really close to full self-driving with Tesla and robo-taxis. And my understanding is that Tampa Bay is one of the next cities that they're going to move into with robo-taxis. How forward looking is the organization, and are you already making plans, since you already could work with Uber, And you know what? The fees will be lower for self-driving Teslas. Is there something in the works to add that to your fleet?
So we don't have any plans as of yet. We keep a close eye on the whole automated vehicles. We actually had an automated vehicle pilot project that was operating in Dunedin for a period of time with like a little automated bus that was operating. So that was pretty cool. And we're just kind of waiting for the next phase to come about. I can tell you that in Lakeland, there are these kind of flying taxis that are operating. So you can kind of go check that out for something really high tech in Lakeland. Back here at home, we are getting into the ferry business. So we now operate the ferry that operates between the docks in Dunedin, going out to downtown Clearwater Marina and to Clearwater Beach. And we're going to be opening up this summer the Tampa Bay Ferry, restoring ferry service between downtown St. Petersburg next to the pier, going out to downtown Tampa and the Channel Side District.
Wow. And same basic fee schedule?
The ferries have a little different fee schedule. So I can't recall the exact fees for the Clearwater Ferry, but it's right in our website.
Okay. All right. So if anybody would like to speak with you and personally, how do they best reach you? And if you'll give email address, and let's give the website one more time.
Absolutely. So the website is always the best starting place for anything, www.psta.net. That stands for Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority. So psta.net. The main phone number for information is going to be 727-540-1888, and probably choose option 4, which is the eligibility line. My direct contact information, again, my name is Ross Silvers, just like it sounds. My email address is first initial last name, so rsilvers@psta.net. And my direct telephone number is 727-540-1844. So I encourage everyone to take a little look, explore. It's really good to have an idea of another way of getting around, because someday driving may not be your preferred option. Given all the risks of safety and everything else that's out there, we want everyone to be safe. And in the meantime, there's a lot of services that are a lot of fun to use, and you can go out and drink and not worry about driving. So give a try on taking the East Lake Shuttle over to Tarpon and use the Jolly Trolley, or take the 78 over to Tampa or into downtown Dunedin that way. But go explore and have some fun.
That's awesome. And the hours for the trolley, are those the same 7 to 7, or are they extended later?
The Jolly Trolley has separate hours. I'm not going to try and quote you off the top of my head what they are, but their schedule's on our website as well.
Okay. And to the residents, I really smell a good field trip getting on that trolley and going from Tarpon to Clearwater. Dunedin is a fun stop. So let's explore that. Ross, thank you so much for the time and personalizing this a lot. It's a lot better than just going to a website. So having a tour of your services has been really valuable. So thank you so much. And don't be surprised if you get phone calls.
Not at all, Mark. I welcome them, and thank you, and everybody travel safe out there.
Great. So let me wind down here. So thanks to Ross Silvers for joining me today to talk about PSTA and their programs for seniors and people with disabilities in Pinellas County. To learn more and all that contact information and websites, look down in the show notes below. If you enjoyed the episode, please like, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you never miss a conversation. And most importantly, tell a neighbor about the podcast this week. That's how community grows. And we're looking for interested residents also and resources to interview on the podcast. If you know somebody that lives in Quail Forest that either has done or is currently doing something really cool and innovative, or just has a great story to tell, please send them our way. Our contact information also is down in the show notes. So thanks again, Ross, and thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the Quail Forest Community Podcast.